Hi Piccolos, this is a practice guide to the piccolo part for the band piece El Jardin de los Hesperides. In the beginning, the first page is pretty manageable. At the very bottom, that tremolo, C to E flat, your fingering C, and you just use both trill keys for that. On this second page, down here by rehearsal E, the C before, the dotted whole note, you're just doing regular C fingering. The whole band is very loud, that's fine. But when you get to rehearsal E, here at 94, you might want to switch to the alternate C fingering. It's just easier to keep the pitch up, and the tone quality might be a little better for blending and intonation. That fingering, the alternate fingering, is in the left hand, no thumb. First finger, middle finger, ring finger are all down. And in the right hand, first finger, ring finger, and pinky. So that's an alternate C. So coming from the big C before it. So obviously it changes the intonation quite a bit. So just in case you need that. The last three lines here with these chromatic scales, just see the pattern. Starting at 98. You're in triplets going down chromatically, ya da 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 bottom, but then the last two notes are a little different. You go down a whole step and back up. So if you just know that, this section isn't too bad. And this little measure is a little weird. Try to keep your airspeed and your dynamic kind of like contained. Try not to spread your sound too much. Okay, the next page. Here's where the very difficult part starts. 141. The recording I heard, this is going at about 96 per half note. So it's like, it's very fast. How I practice this, or what helps me, is again a pattern, finding a pattern at the beginning. Da 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 is all one idea to me in my mind. Once I get to the E flat here, then it's chromatic. So I kind of like rely on knowing that to once I hit the E flat to just go up chromatic and I'm done reading notes. I practiced it in little groupings of 4. Well, 4 plus a connecting note. And then restarting on that connecting note. And then I would also practice it starting at the beginning and stopping on the E flat. And then I practice this part here similar or the same way as the other run at 141 in groups of 4 plus a connecting note. So I use some markers to help me propel forward. Like I have this A flat little accent. As I'm going up, I just sort of propel forward there. And then these markers, these groupings of 4 at the end help me visually. The hardest part, I think, in this run is at 149, this first section. So you just want to try to push through there without blowing outside of the piccolo tone. Measure 195 is another difficult little lick. First of all, the beginning of this measure, you want to kind of go straight through. In that 8th rest, try not to take a breath or disturb the embouchure. Keep the embouchure still. And also almost kind of rush through the rest, I think. When I was playing along with the recording, I felt I had no time to do it exactly. Like, I had to do to keep up with them. And how I practice this is finding the groupings. So for instance, the first grouping that I would just go and repeat over and over was just to there. And then the other grouping from the G flat to the B natural, and then starting on B natural. Like that a bunch of times, but starting very slow and gradually working your way up. At 195, the B flat thumb is on because there's no time to be putting down 1 and 1 fingering for the B flat. So you have your thumb on, da 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 da, and then for the B natural, you're coming from D flat, so you just plunk your finger down on the what's called the long side, and then B, C, D flat, and then going to E, then I put my thumb back on the thumb side. B flat thumb side, so it's there. And then down here, oh, this was so hard. With my B flat thumb on, so A flat, A, B flat, yada da 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 da. And you end on D flat, so you have, no thumb. And then at 218, you have C flat, so obviously you have to go down to C flat, which is B natural, thumb on the long side. And then I do the lever to do the B flat after that. And then at the end of 218, D natural, E flat, I have my thumb back on over there. And then what I did, I would leave out the G flat, I scratched it out, so I don't know. G flat, G natural, B flat, and come back in on the C flat. Like that. I feel like no one's going to hear those notes anyway, and you need to get up to the top. The tempo goes so fast at about 110 per half note. I think you could totally get away with doing it like that. At that tempo, at 218 with those notes I take out, I feel like I just go right into the C flat practically, so I can keep up. Of course, you can't do that if you're playing this for an audition, but if you're doing this in a concert, yeah, I would take out those bottom notes. You do have to practice it like that, starting slow and working your way up so it gets into your fingers. Next page, oh yeah, more insanity. Notice the pattern. It's all naturals with G sharp. So I have that in my mind, naturals with G sharps. I always make sure going up that I get to that E natural and then make sure E, F, G sharp, A, up and over the top of the mountain is secure, and that I have a lot of continued resistance on my airstream so I don't blow out my embouchure and do the thing when I get to the top. You want to make sure those notes speak. As I go up, just make sure my embouchure is on the airstream as I get up and over the top. Another way to practice is, of course, the good old, in little spurt, in groupings. And coming down, I try to, I was going to say I try to decrescendo, but you don't want to overthink things. So I just make sure I'm not continuing to blow loud from the top. This next section, this is where it's almost unplayable. Try to basically play piano so that so everything's contained and I'm much more able to control it. Barely get through there. If you need to, you can do yagadidum, dagadidum. Just go to the A natural. It's a way to fake it, and I think that would be fine. I try to also accent a tiny bit the A flat. It just helps my fingers move. Then you have something similar. The high A flat, I would use the alternate, which is you're playing like high A flat fingering, and then you add the middle finger and the right finger and pinky in the right hand. And then as you go on at rehearsal L, I would just do that. F, breathe, because then you have a big flurry of scales after that. At 268, it's all naturals except for that G sharp at the very end. So again, just think C major scale and in groups of 4. When I was playing along with the recording to learn this, I found myself having to do da-da-da E for the E, just lifting off my left hand third finger, ring finger. So like the trill. So A, B, C, D, E, just lift off the finger. Like that. Again, when coming down, try to avoid the natural tendency to want to play like a flute, where you go, where you really dig into the low stuff. It's not worth it on the piccolo. For one, no one's going to hear you down there. And for two, it tends to spread out your sound, which will spread out your notes off of the airstream. And then it's just a big spitty mess. As you're going up to 401, definitely use the alternate for the high A flat, because it sounds like I had a southern accent, for the high A flat. For the high A flat, because it's sustained. So you don't want that to go away from you. And I would do the trill fingering for the triplet. Ya-da-da, just put your first trill finger down. This here at 404, I think you need to alter it a little bit, because if you're going the tempo of the video I listen to, it's pretty much unplayable. Unfortunately, it's just you, the piccolo player, and one other flute. So you're very exposed. But anyway, what I found was helpful in measure 405. I took out that low F here, and then I thought of the next set of triplets in groups of 2. For whatever reason, that helped me. So going slow. Yada, hada, hada. I mean, it's going so fast. But anyway, visualizing in groups of 2 helped me. And then at 406, I think it's helpful too, if you can get away with it, if you're not doing it for an audition or something, just take out the C. It's so much easier. So going, so this whole thing at 404, like that. That's how I would do it. Up to tempo a little bit. I'll try to do that C in 406 this time. It's so hard. Okay, and then down here at 436, this is exactly like it was before at 195. So same things apply. And then we go on to the next page, measure 457, 458. Exact same thing as measure 217. And I don't think I mentioned this, but how I practiced this section a lot was stopping in certain areas. For instance, like I would play just that much a bunch of times, because that's like one section, and then yaga 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 is the other half of it, the other section. And then at 481, same scales as before. So this is all the same stuff. Page 9, going through here, you get a scream, so that seems like it'd be pretty therapeutic. At the bottom, Allegro, here at rehearsal Y, I would start with your thumb on the B flat side, and then when you get to the D here, it's off because it needs to be off for the high F sharp. So that's what I'm doing. And then moving on, pickups to double C. Right here, the piccolo dips down into that middle register. Try not to overblow. So it's the grand finale here, movement 4. Probably can't hear yourself. So try to avoid very spread sound. So just keep it contained so that you're in control of your tone. If you're in control of your tone, you can be more in control of your fingers. Right there, it's awkward, yada da da. You can leave these fingers down for D, C, D. B flat, yeah, D, C, D. So you don't have to go D, C, D. Right here, because there's really few places to breathe, and if you're out of breath, and if it helps, with the fingers, you can leave out, I think, that D. So you could do at 646, and then go on your way with the 16th notes. And make sure you really retongue wherever you're supposed to. That actually helps give it some definition as you're going along. So where we left off, all right, we're getting towards the end. So, last page. That last G trill, some options for trill fingerings. If you happen to have a piccolo that's got the C sharp trill key, that's super helpful because it's got a GA trill key on it as well. Then you finger high G and you do the GA trill and the trill key together, first trill key together. But if you do not have that option, the best fingering, what you could do as a default is you just trill G to A flat and call it a day. You're fingering high G and just trilling high A to A flat, doing first trill key, and just hope that the whole band is loud enough, which it probably will be, that it'll be undetectable. But a good fingering that's a little harder, but it goes more to a true A, is, let's see, for your G, it's going to be in the left hand, first finger, thumb, and then ring finger. And then in the right hand, it's first trill key and middle finger, so they're kind of squished together. First trill key, the middle finger, and the ring finger. I think that's it. That's your G. Yeah, so that's like your fake G. And then what you're gonna trill is your thumb and your first finger together. It's a very interesting piece, really cool sounding, all kinds of styles going throughout. If you're lucky enough to get to play this with a band, Or I should say, if you're playing this with a band, consider yourself very lucky because it's probably not played very often due to the nature of it so long and that it uses such a large grouping of instruments like alto flute and extended percussion and cellos and all this stuff. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. I have an ongoing playlist of these practice guides, mostly for piccolo. I think there's some flute, but for band pieces. And you might want to check out some of the pieces I have posted already. Thanks for watching this video and happy practicing.